Hi, and welcome to the Andrew Ovid podcast. Today it's my pleasure. I have a special guest with me. His name is Shakir London. He's an expert in psychotherapy, and he'll be with us today to answer a few questions that I know will be super valuable to you. Shakir, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for having me. Good day to all of the viewers, listeners, and everyone taking it on online.
So tell us, Shakir, because I'm not too much in the space of psychology and all those things like that and all that jargon. Just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your passion and what it is that you do currently.
Right. So I'm a counseling psychologist or psychotherapist, so I do professional counseling. I work with couples, I work with the elderly, I do group therapy work, I work with teens, I work with children, and when I'm not doing therapy, I do lectures on topics like depression, suicidality, anxiety disorders, general mental health and wellness. So my passion is being able to help people, but my background is with forensic populations. So I've done therapy in the prison system, wards of the court, at-risk youth, and areas like that.
Wow. Definitely a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
let's jump right in. One of the things that I always wonder is what are some of the main issues that you think affects the general average mind or like the general average person out here today?
I mean, there are a lot of issues that affect individuals. Some of the things that I would observe, especially in therapy, are persons struggling with understanding themselves. So there may be need for treating with underlying trauma. There may be feelings of depression, anxiety, financial issues, grief and loss. I'm seeing more of that happening now. And so there's a wide landscape of issues that persons experience that impact their wellness, their well-being, and their ability to function, both in their personal and professional lives.
Okay. And do you get persons who would play much more of a victim card than they need to because of the society that we're in? Like they're just plagued by saying, well, it was somebody else's fault, or I didn't have this, or I didn't have that, and they just settle at that point in time.
I mean, I see a lot of that. We tend to minimize our roles in where we end up or how we turn out. It's easier to point fingers at someone else. You see it in relationships a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Husbands or wives, couples, they come in and the lady, she's pointing a finger at the gentleman. It's his fault. These are the things he's not doing. These are the things that he needs to change. And he comes in and he's pointing at her. She's the problem. She's the one, Mr. London, fix her. Yeah. But when you ask the question, what about you? What can you take responsibility for? What can you address within yourself? You get crickets. So it's easier to point the fingers and say someone else is to blame. And when I get clients that come in and say, I messed up. This was me. It is so much easier to work with a client like that because they've accepted that, they've made mistakes and a willingness to change, to move forward.
Sounds really good. Tell me this, right? If you were to speak to parents specifically, right, for them to design the perfect place that their children could grow up with a healthy environment around them, like what would be like your recommendations of what a good foundation would be for the child or for somebody in general to be able to thrive?
So one of the things that research supports is a nuclear family in terms of raising children. Mom and dad being in the home, mom and dad having some type of loving relationship, where there's respect, where there's empathy, right? Because that is what the child is going to observe. They're going to see, the dynamic between male and female and how they interact with each other. Yeah, I believe another critical pillar in terms of environment for raising a child is some type of faith or relationship with God.
Yeah.
And we have different religions and different beliefs, but at least that child, the values and the norms that you want the child to be able to align himself or herself to, or to be based on some type of spiritual relationship. Yeah. And then you have parents that are willing to learn and to grow and to be humble. So for example, I would have threatened my child at some point in time. He went to school and he lose all the pencil and erase and whatever. And his mom told me, you need to deal with your son. So I spoke to him, I pulled the belt out. That was how I learned with my father. And I put it by the side of the bed and I said, if you come home without your pencil or your eraser, it'll be problems.
Next.
I get a call the next day. He had this meltdown in class, he belly hurting, then he's feeling sick. When I get home to find out, what actually took place, it wasn't that he was sick. It was the thought of he had lost, he couldn't find the pencil, the thought of the punishment. And so I had to be humble enough as a parent to say, okay, maybe I need to adjust my approach. Yeah, I don't have it perfect. Sometimes as parents, we could be very heavy-handed and firm, but that willingness to reflect, mothers and fathers, and to be able to acknowledge that what you may believe to be the best way may not be best practice.
Yeah.
Am I willing to learn? Am I willing to grow? Am I willing to change to ensure that my child is able to be successful? And then education and I mean, there's a lot that we could talk about in terms of raising the child to respect the rules within society, to be caring and to be considerate, to be kind. But a lot of that they learn within the home. So what is the dynamic within the home? What is the environment there behind closed doors that impact upon a child's wellness?
Okay. Okay. And tell me this: when you see, let's just say, from a very young age, that the child is distant, like delinquent, and so on, probably between 5 and 10 or so, what is your natural intuition?
So my natural intuition is to examine the child's relationship with mommy, daddy, and the relationship between mommy and daddy. Yeah, usually when you see children manifesting or demonstrating certain types of problematic behaviors, delinquency, fighting in school, when I work with clients within that age range, it is so important for me to be able to work also with the parents, because oftentimes the issues within the home concerning mommy and daddy impacts upon the wellness of the child. Yeah, and as an adult, I'm able to say, I'm going through a difficult time. Let me go to a counselor. Let me talk to someone. Let me find someone. Let me talk to a friend. But most children, when they go through difficult times, challenges, trauma, they carry it by themselves. Imagine that a 6-year-old, 7-year-old experiencing rejection, neglect, abandonment, abuse, and they carry it for years by themselves. But you see it in the grades. You see it in the way they may lash out. You see it in the disrespect and the fighting, and you see it, they may start to touch or steal. You see all of these behaviors, and we punish the child. Old school, they go to school, they get, they're not really beating children now, but they punish the child. But we have to be able to look deeper than that. So sometimes when I do work in schools, and I speak to teachers, I talk to them about looking beyond what you see in the classroom.
Yeah.
There's more going on there. Let me explore a bit what is happening behind the scenes.
So, I just want to move on to something that I am very passionate about. I'm passionate about the financial issues, right?
Right.
So I don't know how this would fall into what it is that you do, but from what I see, there are a lot of challenges in the present with regards to finances. That being said, we have a whole lot of factors that has caused cost of living to rise and stuff to spiral. How much issues, or do you get to the root of the issue being financial issues within a lot of consultations that you have?
What I find, so the financial issue might be what we call the presenting issue, the presenting problem. I came in for counseling because I have a lot of money issues. I have loans here, loan sharks coming after me, as the case may be. When I dig deeper, you realize that finance is just one part of the equation. Usually you see some type of disorder in other elements or factors of the person's life. And so it may be, when I have clients that present with a financial issue, we look back to the distal causes, the root causes as to how would they socialize financially? The culture of finance within the home. What did they learn from mommy or daddy concerning money? And you may find examples of situations where they might have been gambling, or when they might have, had a certain, a certain, let's say, schema about money. Mom or dad might believe, take money anytime they could get it, so the idea of stealing might be an option that the client might have. Or you always go and take a loan, you always go to courts or whatever, and you borrow money or whatever. So you'd be surprised. Like gambling, I've seen cases like that as well, that they learn from childhood, based on what they observe of mommy or daddy, and that carries forward. But it is usually not a singular issue. Oftentimes, when you find a lack of discipline in regards to finances, you find it affecting or pervading other aspects of the person's life. Yeah, so I see that.
Definitely. So, for the average person, advice for the average person, if they want to live a more fulfilled life, or they want to have a positive mindset, I know that this is a broad topic, right? But what would your recommendations be in terms of step-by-step approach for somebody between maybe 15 and about 25 to really hone in on like a step-by-step approach of how do I set things right in terms of making sure I'm having a positive, fulfilled life?
You know, when I work with clients, one of the first things that we do, that I do as a therapist, is assess. And so I teach clients how to begin to assess themselves. You're assessing your emotions, you're assessing your cognitions, or your thoughts, right? And so you're looking at how your thoughts affect your mood, which in turn affects your behavior. And if there's a lack of self-reflection, then you find that this person is just operating based on their subconscious. They're just operating on automatic. So I teach them to look in, assess yourself. And then we talk about, okay, what does behavior change look like now? You realize that these are the emotions that you're experiencing, strong feelings of anger or frustration, or fear or anxiety, or whatever the case may be. We pull out the thoughts that contribute to it, the beliefs that you hold. For some people, it might be low self-esteem. I'm not good enough. I don't think I'm strong. I don't think I'm smart. And we talk about steps that will help them to change those types of thoughts. And then we examine, okay, so these are the behaviors that we're seeing here. You didn't finish school. There's a belief that your brain not good enough. You can't do it all that book work. These beliefs that we hold that inform the way that we live our lives. And we work towards restructuring the thinking. So maybe if I begin to speak about myself in a more positive way, it might bring about better outcomes. We also look at holistic wellness. So emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, occupational, and teaching people to look at themselves not just from one aspect, but you're looking at yourself in different aspects, and what does growth look like in each one. So we may talk about, okay, working on a relationship with God. We may talk about putting a financial plan in place, a plan for the future. You have children, do you have insurance? We spoke about that. We speak about the emotions. What do I need to do to manage my emotions and develop my emotional intelligence? We'll speak about occupational. Where are you at right now in your career? What do you need to change or adjust in order to move forward? Set a goal for yourself. What does 20 years from now look like for you in terms of your career? And so, we look at it from different points of views, but we start off initially by assessing myself.
Okay.
Where am I at? And there's a lot of stuff that you can do, whether it is journaling, exercising, nutrition, getting enough sleep. There's a lot of things that you can do, working on your thoughts. And we do that in therapy, in order to help the person grow and make changes in their lives and in their relationships.
Yeah. How important are relationships, or I want to use the word validation from others, feedback like from others, because I tend to see a lot of persons, they kind of get into a shell, isolation shell, where they don't want to talk to anybody. They want to go through, how to say it, the waves of low self-esteem, depression, and all those things by themselves.
Right.
I want to know how critical that it is for, like, the social part of it, for them to to get the support network that they need, the friendships that they need, and for those things to pull them through? Like, what value that has?
It is extremely important. And the unfortunate thing is that, particularly for men, a lot of men miss that. They don't realize the importance of having other men, other people's social relationships, and how that can impact your well being. So you're right, you may have persons that pull away, that believe that they can do this by themselves, or when they are struggling, they isolate. Yeah, but what you find is that when you're isolated, it pushes you, there's a connection, some type of correlation between isolation and suicidality. All of a sudden, I start to develop thoughts about suicide, of harming myself, of just escaping from. Yeah. And so when you have people around you, encouraging you, motivating you, interacting with you, that plays a role in your well-being, especially when it is a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And we all need that. Yeah. You would find with children, when you say to a child, "Good job, you could do it, well done, I appreciate you," that child then internalizes that. But notice that would have come from the relationships that the child would have forged, right? And so no man is an island. As you grow, you realize the importance of having people around you. As a man, you enjoy having the company of a wife, a companion, somebody that is there to help, to support, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But it really does play a role in terms of wellness, and it is one of the things that I talk to clients about in terms of healing your social relationships. Part of the issues that you find people have is that they've fractured the relationships in their lives. So I have no friend. There's no one there that I can turn to, that I can call on, because I have been instrumental in fracturing these relationships by the things that I say, the things that I do.
Yeah.
And so picking up the phone sometimes and being humble enough to say, you know what, I've messed up. I've made a mistake. And begin to rebuild those social networks, over a period of time.
I love it. That for me has been a question for some time, and I think that there's some deep lying issues, because I'm seeing more and more people who would be like, "I have nobody to call, I have nobody to talk to, I have no friends," and that's probably the last place that you want to be, especially if it is that you're going through a rough time. You want to have somebody who you could call on. And what I'm also seeing, like in parenting, I don't know if you see it as well, but you see parents who almost isolate their children from the other children, maybe because they believe, and it may come from a good place,
Right.
maybe they believe that they are of a higher caliber or standard, so they want to segment their children from lower class children.
Right.
So I don't know if that is a real issue, but I'm probably seeing it happening earlier than before, where you probably know, like in your childhood or like in mine, everybody in the neighborhood was playing like together, everybody was friends. But I'm almost seeing, now we do have some social issues, we have crime, we have different things that's happening, but tell me if it's something that you see, and tell me if it's a red flag or.
Yeah, I do see, I do understand the impact of crime and how it has changed the communities that we live in. I think that my child is going to have to face this world without me, once God grants him life, without me at some point in time. And part of my job as a parent is to prepare my child for the world that they will face. And the world that they will face will not be filled with good people treating you, everybody is treating you nice and welcoming and warm. They are going to have to learn to navigate those that will call them names, those that will want to pull them down, those that will want to lie and steal and cheat them. They're going to have to face that. It doesn't mean that as a parent you don't try to some degree to ensure that they're in spaces where they have good role models and positive people impacting them. But I have to prepare my children. So let me give you a basic example. I could choose to drop my child everywhere. Time now where back in the day we might have traveled a lot more.
Yeah.
But my child has to. But now let's say my child is 18 years old, 19 years old, and they can't go in a maxi. They can't find a taxi. they're like a fish out of water if they're in some part of the country and they can't get home, you know. And so it means that I would not have done a effective job at causing them to be able to navigate the world that they're facing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something else that we spoke to in terms of social relationships. You can have a situation where you have people around you, but you're alone. You're in a house filled with people. You have friends, but you can never trust them enough to go deep.
Yeah.
You can never share your hurts and your pains with them. You know, and so that is another type of isolation there.
Yeah.
Because when you hear a lot of suicides, you hear people say, I didn't know that this was happening. Yeah. So that is another side, another dimension to
Yeah. And I think that for sure, I know that the men struggle with internalizing some of their feelings and bottling up things and not having, because not all the time that you may go to a female and have that type of conversation. And so if it is that you are male and you don't have probably even male friends that you could interact with, I think that is a painful position to have to bottle up everything and not go from there. So I know that we spoke about a lot. Shakir, it was a fantastic session that we had here in terms of sharing. I'm looking forward to probably having another one because I know that I want to go deeper into some of the issues that I see out there, and I know that it's going to help some places. But tell us where it is that we could find you, what programs that you have, if we'll find you on social media or what's like your channels and all those things.
So you'd find me on social media. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. So either of them, you're able to reach out to me through either platform and get in touch with me. In terms of what I'm involved in right now, I mean, I do a lot of work going to different organizations. So I work with some young boys in a program within the Laventille area, some other young men in the Arima area. I have a support group for men, you know, so once every month we meet and we discuss issues that men face. You know, and I mean that is one of the groups that I would find a lot of healing taking place. Yeah, where men now could actually go deeper with the things that they carry. And you know, you would hear the men say, I can't talk about these things with my friends, but with whoever I have that I consider friends. I mean, so that is one of the spaces that I have as well. I mean, and outside of that is therapy and speaking engagements and things of that nature.
Sounds pretty good. So if they were to go to Facebook to search,
Shakir London, yeah, just search the name and you would find me, and you can send me a message and we can chat. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Shakir, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
No problem, Andrew. It was nice being here.